right. So we are live recording, and I will keep letting everyone in the room as they join. So Veronica, I will let you take it away.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are so glad that you're here for another community call. Lauren and I just returned from Mindshare, and you'll be seeing more about that in some newsletters because we have an affiliate discount coming for you guys to sign up if you want to go with us next year. It was really valuable. And that's really the only announcement I have. We just closed the last boot camp. It closed on Monday, enrollment, and then the boot camp will start with a kickoff call on Sunday. And so that was the last opportunity for this year. We're going to take the rest of the year to plan out and really make things valuable for you guys as the members. So we're gonna take some time and do some more organizing around that.
Okay. If anyone missed the cutoff point and you're like kicking yourself of like, oh my gosh, I knew I should have signed up, I'll technically let you in still, but you got to do it like today.
Sounds good. Well, I wanted to open us up with some different breath work today that was inspired by the book that we'll be discussing, which is Recapture the Rapture by Jamie Wheel. So if you'll take just a moment and find yourself in a comfortable seated position, let your feet rest flat on the floor and let your hands rest comfortably in your lap. Doesn't matter if they're face up or face down, and then sit up nice and tall. Taking just a moment to notice your body. And notice where your breath moves in the chest. And now we're going to draw a big inhale together. Inhale all the way until you can't bring any more air in. Hold for just a moment, and then sip a little bit more air in on top of that. Pause, sip a little bit more, pause. One more, top off your tanks as much as you can. Pause, and then let a big sigh out. Draw another big full breath in, pausing at the top. Sip in a little bit more air, a little bit more air, and really top off your tanks. Fill up just a little bit more, pausing at the top, and then let a big sigh out. And we'll do one more big full breath in, pausing at the top, then sip in a little bit more air, pause, a little bit more, and a little bit more air, filling up as much as you possibly can, and then pause and let a big sigh out. And then take just a moment, letting your breath come back to a natural and effortless rhythm. And notice how you feel. Notice where that breath moves in the chest and what has shifted for you today. And when you're ready, slowly open the eyes, bringing awareness back into the room. So has anyone practiced that breath before? Any thoughts about it or anything anybody wants to share?
That topping off is hard.
It is. And it's also surprising too. I think like by the end of it, you're like, ooh, I made a little more room.
Yeah, it makes me realize how shallowly I usually breathe.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Amy. Anyone else want to share their experience of that breath work today? Lauren, you're on mute if you're talking to us.
I am. I was at a personal training appointment this morning, and the way they teach you how to breathe for lifting is very different than how we breathe in yoga. And so she was having me breathe into my back, like into my lower, like back of my ribs. And it was basically to try and get my back all the way flat against the wall that I was standing against. So sometimes it's interesting to actually think like where you're trying to pull the breath into. Like, are we topping it up at the top? Or is it like you can actually make more space by like expanding your lower rib cage? And it's pretty bizarre.
That's been a big challenge for me. My personal trainer does mostly powerlifting. And so I've been learning proper lifts and breathing, and it's so counterintuitive to all my yogic breath.
Yeah.
But it's been good. Learn to breathe in all the ways.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for sharing. How many of you got a chance to read the book? If you want to just drop a 1 in the comments if you got a chance to read it, even if you didn't finish, if you started reading it, let us know. And I did put a list of all the books that we have been reading throughout the year and the rest of the books for the remaining year in the chat. Ooh, hi Maria, fellow Texan. Good to see you. And if you didn't see, we did ask you to put in the chat where you're located so that other people in your state can find you. And if we have any state leaders on the call, please identify yourself so that people can come and find you.
And if you can't find the chat, it's in the bottom right corner. There should be some little like meeting tools and then a chat with everyone icon and a people icon.
So Lauren, have you had a chance to read this book?
I did not get a chance to read this one, and I should have listened to it on the plane ride out to Mindshare and back, and I totally forgot because I was reading a different book that has been really good. But I also thought that this was so ironic that this was the name of the book this month, because I don't know if anyone else saw on social media yesterday. Yesterday was supposed to be the rapture, according to some pastor in Africa who heard from Jesus, and there was like a huge rapture talk social media thing going on, and people were having like legitimate mental breakdowns, like that the rapture was officially happening yesterday. But I don't think that it did. I'm still here.
Yeah.
So.
I'm still here too. Yeah. You know, that was not intentional when I picked the book.
Yeah, really not.
And it's interesting, like that you bring up the rapture, because the whole first chapter of the book is about rapture ideology and what does this mean about hoping for a better place, and what does this look like with our action here on the planet, with where are we putting our resources. And it's not to say that there's not value in going to Mars and space exploration, but also think about what we could do with that money here on Earth to help support the people that are here. And what is our ultimate goal in space exploration? Is it because we have no hope for what's here on Earth? I thought it was really interesting to apply this rapture ideology and think of how it applies to what you're doing in your life today and what you're hoping for in the future. It was very paradigm shifting.
That is interesting though, because that's a theme that was kind of similar in the book that I was reading. I'm reading a book called Burn Rate by, I think his name's Jonathan Dunn, but he was like a CEO that had bipolar disorder. And so it's like his personal journey through all of that. And at one point he's like at a meeting or a dinner with the guy that was the CEO and founder of Zappos Shoes, which is like a, multi-billion-dollar internet commerce company. But this guy lives like in an Airstream trailer in the middle of nowhere that, runs this company. And part of what the discussion was like, what are we doing with all of this money that we're making from shoes or from pants or from whatever it is? And their philosophy was basically that, as the world keeps evolving, we'll find ways to, sustain ourselves. And they gave examples of, like finding ways to actually decompose plastic or whatnot. And it's like some of these technologies, like this book was written a little while ago, I think, and the conversation for sure happened like, a decade plus ago that he was recounting. And like some of these things are happening. So, yeah. Sanal said she had started reading it. Still has lots to go. But definitely if you have thoughts from even the beginning of it, please share.
There's a whole chapter on, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't give Sonal enough time to respond. I just jumped in there. I'll wait a minute longer.
And Sanal is on mute. That's the only thing too is
Wait, hello? Can you hear me?
yes, now
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sonal. Okay, this is the first book that I finally started getting around to reading on your list of books. And honestly, when I first started reading the first pages, I just felt depressed. I don't know. It was just depressing to me. But like you said, Veronica, I mean, towards the end of the chapter, I was thinking, okay, it would be a good idea to focus on the planet Earth and focusing on going to Mars, and exploration and different planets. And let's just focus on here and the now and what can we do to make the planet better. Then the second chapter, was talking about meditation. And so that was really interesting to me, all the different types of meditation. And I guess some of them, I can't remember which meditation was started by scuba divers. And then, was starting to read about box breathing, which I would like to incorporate. But it does get confusing on which method to use. How are we supposed to breathe? It gets confusing, it seems like everyone has a different method.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way to breathe. I think which is the one that suits you best and gets you the results that you want. And I think it takes some trial and error to find out what works for each of us. And that's why there are so many different styles and ways to teach it. I mean, there's even ways to teach the same thing. Different. Everybody brings their own flavor to it.
Yeah, I'm going to finish. My goal is to finish the book. It's going to take me a while.
I was pleasantly surprised by the book, but the first chapter was hard to get through. I was just like, this is not what I thought I was reading when I first read it, but I'm glad I stuck it out.
Okay, I'm going to stick it out because after reading about the breath work, I thought, okay, I'm going to go with this. But honestly, the first chapter, I was depressed and I started falling asleep. Like, no, I have to get through this. So I'll keep going.
Maria, I see that you're off mute. Did you have something to contribute?
I did not. I'm sorry. I'm learning the buttons. I do apologize. Hello, ladies. It's so good to meet with you guys.
We're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Well, I guess if I were to contribute anything, I have not read that book, but I do know, I think, I'm Christian, and if I may share this, the more that we learn the word of God. It also says that nobody knows when the rapture is going to happen. So I'll start with that regarding the conversation earlier. And then I would also say that the more we help bring the word of God to people, it brings them peace. And I think that's one way we can help in this earth, like you ladies were saying. Anyway, sorry, I did have the button like that, but I'm just learning the button, so I didn't mean to. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you for sharing. Amy, you said, what about pleasure tripping in space? Could that money be used elsewhere? Oh, can you elaborate on that? I think
Yeah, when you all were talking earlier about, the money that we're putting, the resources that we're putting towards space exploration and what could that accomplish here on Earth. It's one thing to drive our curiosity about, other worlds and learn as much as we can. And then sadly to maybe be developing some type of plan B, but like the money that billionaires are putting toward, just like a pleasure trip out to space and back, like that's what really gets me, because that is just that is completely 100% self-serving, and that money really could and probably should be put toward other things, but it's not my money. So I suppose there's something to be said for spending your money how you would like, but that kind of unsettles me even more than like an organized space program.
when you said pleasure tripping, my brain went to the psychedelic piece of the book. I got it when I read the full thing, but like that's where my brain went when I first saw it. So
I haven't started this book yet. So that any likeness toward any connection to the book's content, real or imaginary, is completely unintentional.
Lauren, you are the expert. Well, I can't see the others on the call, so maybe there are other psychedelic pharmacists on the call, and I don't. I'm still learning the buttons too. So thank you all for being patient with all of us as we're switching platforms. But do you have anything to share with us on the psychedelic space and how these plant medicines are used and some of the history behind it? I found that really fascinating in the book, kind of an explanation of how these were used and gate kept in indigenous societies and how we're using them in modern day. So I would love to hear your contributions to that conversation.
Yeah, tell me more about what they even talk about in the book for context, since I haven't read it yet, and then I can chime in on how I think it applies.
I can't remember specifically which plant medicines he talks about, but he talks about the process of going through a spiritual journey and having to go through a set of kind of, I guess, physiologic hardships, like a fasting and then hard physical work. And then you've also, it sounded like an apprenticeship with someone before you received your plant medicine.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in South American traditions, like with ayahuasca, or in Mexico with mushrooms, and definitely like North America, Native Americans, peyote, those three in those cultures are something that the plants are considered sacred, right? So when I went to psychedelic science in 2023, I went to 2 different workshops. The first workshop was Johns Hopkins, like Matthew Johnson, literally the top researcher on psilocybin in the world. And they're using chemical psilocybin, like in a capsule, pure, 100%. Sharing, all of their research on how this is helping people with addiction, depression, PTSD, everything under the sun. And these experiences are completely life-changing, right? Versus waiting months for an antidepressant to maybe work. These are providing instant change and sustainable change. But then the very next day was a panel of elders from all of these different cultures. And, you know, the first thing that they said was, please slow down. Please be careful. Like, these medicines have been with us for many years, and in our cultures, like, you don't even get to look at a peyote plant until like you've been given permission from the elders and from the plant itself. Like, it's not something that anyone is just like, oh, I want to try that, I'm going to try that, right? That's just not how it works, because there's so much tradition that's involved with it and the sacredness of it. So I think for us in, you know, the Western world, I kind of sat with that and I was like, well, America's an interesting place, right? Like, our lineages come from all over the world, and our culture really doesn't often get carried over with us. So it really sparked an interest in my own genealogy to even figure out, like, well, you know, where does my lineage come from? And did we have medicines that we worked with? And the answer is yes, actually. And I've actually met with some individuals, one who's based in Ireland, and some of the, you know, Gaelic traditions and the spiritual side of those cultures. Liberty caps are the mushroom that grows in Ireland. So it's like, there's just different history, but it's sort of been lost. And we're slowly trying to rediscover it and figure out how it applies to the modern world now. So yeah, I think that, you know, we have a lot of mental health conditions that need help and support, but the psychedelics alone aren't a cure. You can have an amazing experience, but then you still come right back to your same situation, the same people, all the things. So it's really, I think we're starting to understand and leverage these medicines for the neuroplasticity benefits, because that gives you that window of opportunity to make potentially drastic change in your life if that's truly what's needed. Or where a lot of people are starting is with things like microdosing, which is a much more kind of integrative approach that can have a little bit softer, slower way of working with those medicines. And then leveraging that to make smaller changes, incremental changes, behavior shifts. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on all of it.
Thank you for sharing. I didn't understand the historical piece of it and the tradition behind it and who received it. And I think before I read this book, I saw it more as gatekeeping, like in the negative sense. And after I read the book, I realized that it was really good stewardship of, like, just like we want to be antibiotic stewards or polypharmacy stewards, it's the same thing, because we want the person to get the most benefit out of whatever we're choosing. And the medication can't do all the heavy lifting. And so there's all of these other pieces and layers of the onion and support pieces that that need to happen. And so that's what I saw in the tradition with the limitations on who could receive it, was who was willing to put in the lifestyle for, I guess, to bring it back to more of a pharmacy practice, is like, who's willing to do the lifestyle pieces that are going to make the benefits of this therapy, get the most out of it. And I saw it in a different light after reading this book.
Yeah, it's almost like the REMS program of, there's some things that you should really know before you do this. And how do we ensure beyond a shadow of a doubt, to the absolute best of our ability, that this is the right drug for the right person, the right dose, that we're monitoring properly, we're following up properly. You're limited to how much you can get at one time, right? And I wouldn't even be surprised in some cases if that's how psychedelics end up proceeding, that like we would potentially have some level of that type of restriction on some of these things. I don't know necessarily, because on the flip side, right, like these substances are quite easily accessible, you know, in the underground space and out of the country. So it's a big debate within the psychedelic community of, is medicalization truly the path forward versus just legalization, right? Giving people free will and free choice and sovereignty to have access to something that comes from the earth. You know, most of the psychedelic medicines do, you know, outside of things like ketamine, which isn't really considered a true psychedelic. So, yeah.
Ina, did you have something you wanted to contribute?
I'm not, thank you for letting me talk. I'm not very familiar with psychedelics. I was always honestly scared. And I don't want to say I'm a control freak, but I like to feel without that loss of control. And I always thought that psychedelic would bring you that. So I never went into that, and I had my plate full, always with what I was doing. I did get a couple of clients giving me feedback over the years that it helped with depression. It helped with, like, again, my majority of my clients are Crohn's and colitis people. Of course, they are always upset, depressed, and with that illness. It's a severe illness. So I did get positive feedback. I never got a really negative feedback about them. I didn't try it. I didn't learn it. Yet I could theoretically see how, like, the microdosing can possibly be helpful with studies of, you mentioned, Lauren, you mentioning something beautiful, like it's a sacred medicine. Are we ready? Are we there? Do we have the right people? And how does it go together with the conventional approach? And that's a whole new, like a completely different aspect that I don't know how many are ready. I think it has to be someone that's led by the hand of someone that knows. It can't be, you can't just try. You can just like, let me try this. This is not that type of thing. That's what drugs are, like the recreational stuff, if people are into that. So I think it's amazing that you're doing it. I'm more than happy to learn more. Just never got a chance.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. Rami, I saw you had your hand raised.
I did. I'm sorry, probably my son. Sorry.
Thank you very much. So that's my first time with you folks. So
welcome.
Thank you. And I am in Canada. I assume you folks are in the States?
We are, although I don't know if you saw our announcement, we have officially launched our Canada chapter that's being led by Cindy and Dennis. Dennis Wong, who is like a world-renowned speaker, owns Sinden Pharmacy in Manitoba.
I think that's why I registered, because I saw, no, that's fantastic. So I'm not going to talk too much about what I just want you to be one of the things. I am actually a psychotherapist also.
Amazing.
The reason I'm mentioning that is Carl Jung theory, personality theory, speaks about conscious and subconscious. And I think it goes side by side with part of what I think the influence of psychedelics into the mental health. And I think that's, again, I don't have personal experience with patients with psychedelics. I wanted badly to learn more about psychedelics, but I couldn't, I couldn't find the solid course I need to find. I'm sure there's something out there.
You can help with that. Yeah, I'll drop some resources.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something for sure, but there's lots of things going on, and I think that's part of, because I remember when I studied Jung theory, the first thing that came to my mind is why when we're sleeping. I remember myself when I was in high school, I would be having an issue with a math problem, and I'm not able to solve it. Just like, and then when I go to bed and I sleep, I actually, while I'm dreaming, I will find the solution to a degree that I will wake up, write it down. And then when I studied the theory, it came to my mind like it's the subconscious, because you need to be released from the structured thinking in order to get into the unstructured thinking. That's why I also attended a year ago. I am in a city called Hamilton in Ontario. And a year ago, there was art like museum for people with addiction. So they actually showed what they actually did in drawings, in other types of arts during that. And I was amazed by how much creativity there was. And that actually enforces the fact that substance use is definitely a challenge, a health challenge, but it shows how these people, in many situations, they have really, and that's why there's art therapy too. There's really a huge potential to make them very productive in the way and the best approach. So I just wanted to add these points. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'd love to hear more of your story. And did you start as a pharmacist and then do psychotherapist?
Yes. So I've been a pharmacist for 27 years, but in Canada for 17 years. And psychotherapy was only a couple of years ago. So so I do both, but I'm trying to combine them in my practice also. So
that's amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know in Canada, I think psilocybin is it legal there, or is it like decriminalized? Because I feel like there was a physician that was doing retreats in Canada.
That's why I don't really have a good idea about it. I just wanted to, but it makes sense to start like where I can really. Thanks for sharing these resources. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The first link for the Psychedelic Pharmacists Association, obviously all of your peers all in one place. We do have pharmacists in Canada that are in that organization as well. And then the other link for is spiritpharmacist.com. This is a link specifically to his mastermind screener program. So he has a membership. He has all of his primary courses that he's done, but next week, I think October 1st, is the kickoff call for the psychedelic screener program, which he's basically training all of us in exactly what he does, which is assessing medication interactions with all of the different psychedelic medicines. So yeah.
And actually, one more point. I am always I'm a fan of Dr. Gabor Mate, who's really specialized in trauma, and he's Canadian also in Vancouver. And the guy has some good resources and YouTubes on psychedelics actually.
Yeah, one of the facilitators that I work with in Costa Rica is a direct student of his. So a lot of that work really informs the way that he facilitates the psychedelic experiences there, and it's very powerful. Awesome.
With that reference to Gabor Mate, that's a good way to bring up one of our books for next year. We got to meet the author, Dr. Amy Appigan, and he wrote the foreword to her book. So this just dropped. You'll see it in our Amazon store, but this is not one we're going to read until next year. So this is the Biology of Trauma. But I thought, how cool is that Dr. Mate wrote her foreword? Like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Is that similar to has anybody read the Body Keeps Score?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I
Yeah,
think
it's a very good book.
a
I
lot
like that
of
one. And when the body says no.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, that one really resonated with me. I mean, I actually even only got, I think, like maybe 25% of the way through it, but like it resonated hard that I think we ignore a lot of the physical manifestations of stress, and we do a lot of bodily harm, and it manifests itself in disease and illness, and then we kind of just think like, oh well, I'm sick and I'll fix it, or anyway, I think it empowered me to be more in control of or at least more cognizant of the impact that my choices would have on my physical and mental health, and that is real and valid, and so if your body is saying no, maybe you should listen. So that was the message I took away from it, and it was probably a really great read for the last 3 quarters as well. I may never know. I don't know.
It was a good book. I've read When the Body Says No, and it was really good.
That's awesome. I feel like that whole theme of listening to our bodies and trying to actually hear and understand what it's trying to tell us. I don't know if you guys know Rob Kress, but he runs functionalpharmacy.com, and we collaborate a lot. But he's very big into that whole concept. And we both made social media posts about the whole Tylenol debate that's happening right now, and that was sort of the angle that he took on it, which is, why is it that we constantly want to reach for the pill to make the pain go away versus listening and getting curious and trying to find what the message is, that the body's trying to tell us. And it's interesting, right, as pharmacists, because again, like that's not what we're taught in school, and unless you grew up in a household that had that sort of belief system around, the body, which most of us in America in conventional families didn't, right? Like we all just assumed that, yeah, you have a fever, you take something to make the fever go away. It's medicine, versus really thinking like, what if the body does know what it's doing, and there's a reason for the fever, and we don't have to make the fever go away immediately, obviously. Like, I think that's the balance. There's like a middle road that we can all walk in these paths, but whenever things get so polarized, it's almost scary to try and be on the middle road, because then it's like, oh, well, is someone, going to say you're being anti-science or anti-evidence or too woo-woo or whatever it is, but that's why when I made the post that I did yesterday, I was just like, I cannot sit back. Just not say something about this right now because the truth is always somewhere in the middle. It really is.
Yeah, I made a post too, and I kind of came with it like what we know, right? The toxic metabolite, and then I said, glutathione is only going to be as good as all of our nutrients, and then I listed like all of these nutrients are cofactors. Are we all well supported with those? Because I know every patient that I get is doesn't have the right nutritional values to support their life. And then I also mentioned, the glutathione genetics that come into play. Like, I tried to make it to where it's not just one thing, but that might be what tips you over, right? It's just like my, mycotoxin illness wasn't just one thing. It was all the things that came together that wasn't supporting my body that then, I struggled with it. So like, that's how I tried to empower people to have information so that they can make their own decisions and not have to depend on someone else telling them yes or no.
Yeah.
Oh, Veronica, you're muted.
Thank you, Kelly. I saw some other people come off camera. Like maybe you wanted to say something. Please join us. I didn't catch your names. It was so quick. Or maybe you didn't mean to turn your camera on. I don't know. But we would love for everybody to have a chance to add their thoughts to this discussion, because we always learn when we hear different opinions and perspectives, and it's all good for us to hear. And every time you guys share, there's new resources to share. And I try to include those when we send out our replay. When you guys bring up other books or helpful resources or trainings, we try and drop those in the recap for you guys. Or for y'all. I gotta be more inclusive with my language, y'all.
Where did we find the chat? I had it and now I don't have it. And now I can't find it.
In the bottom right corner, a little sort of square speech bubble icon.
I don't have such thing now. I don't know what I did, but I got rid of it.
Lauren, was the original post you made on LinkedIn and then it went out to all your socials?
Yes, I made it on LinkedIn first. It's getting a lot more traction on Facebook, which I am not surprised because Facebook loves the tea. Facebook just loves, I think it got shared like 9 times already. So I think that's why it's getting a lot of eyeballs on it on Facebook right now. And I'm like, oh boy. Actually, Todd Urey from Pharmacy Podcast Network sent me a text message and he's like, hey, you want to come on This Week in Pharmacy podcast and talk about it? And I was like, do I? I guess I can, but we'll see.
And I think it's such a great point. Do I, right? It's always that thought, should I, do I? It's a little bit scary. Like, I don't know, I went through pharmacy school in the 90s, early 90s. Be afraid to give a glass of water to a patient. Like that. Like coming out of that school in the 90s and then studying functional medicine, literally no one was doing it. How many things I was getting, like, be afraid, don't do it, this is crazy. Thank you, Lauren, for doing this. Thank you for building a community where we could like find each other, people on the same page with you. I watched your journey since you were in Walmart. Like when your original emails, I'm like, how is this girl going to pull this? You did it. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, thank you. It takes everybody coming together. That's the secret, right? Oh my gosh.
I've decided that all of my most, not all, most of my pharmacist colleagues just think I've lost my mind, and I've just come to terms and grips with it.
Yeah, apparently this Facebook post has now been shared 29 times. So, and it has a whole bunch of comments on it. Oh boy, here we go. Little did I know that Tylenol was going to be the controversial thing that I post that
It's
gets people-
politicized now.
Exactly.
My
Roz has her hand raised.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Roz.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay, now maybe you can even see me. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I did not read the book, but I did get your been on your emails, and I don't know why, but this is the first time I saw the book list. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the forum and the process of reading these books, getting discussions, sharing your impressions with, amongst your peers and having these discussions. I joined today because I wanted to see what it would be like and, what the discussions are. And I do find it very valuable and appreciate everybody's comments. And I'm going to read the book next time so I can actually contribute better. So thank you, Lauren, for pulling us together. I do appreciate it's a lot of work. And I do appreciate this forum for us pharmacists.
Awesome.
Thank you, Roz. Tell us where you're located.
I'm located in New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you. Glad you're with us today.
I'm in the infertility space. And I've been an OBGYN fertility for all of my time as a nurse practitioner. And then when I became a pharmacist, I went to the pharmaceutical companies that make those drugs. But yeah, I think there's a lot going on, and ASRM's going to come out with a statement. ACOG came out with a statement. I was really disappointed to see FDA come out with a statement about neurobiological potential side effects, because obviously J&J studied the drug in pregnancy, and it's known to be one of the safest when taken appropriately. And you really can't take ibuprofen when you're pregnant because that causes defects and fetal heart defects. So it's like, okay, if woman's in pain, if it's self-limiting and she can get it to go away with, I know when sometimes when I have a headache, I put peppermint oil behind my neck and it helps. So, I always try to offer those things to patients when I was taking care of patients, but I'm like, look, if you've done everything and nothing's working, then take Tylenol. It's not going to hurt you or your baby. And I almost feel like the FDA just put out the statement because, sorry for anybody because of the political piece of, Trump making his statement, and then the FDA's the federal workers are so afraid of getting fired. Like I've had many, many friends who live on my street who have been just cut from their jobs. And it's like, is that the only reason they made the statement, or do they really believe that? And that makes it difficult when you don't know what to believe.
Well, the FDA did in 2009 ask for all of the combination products be reduced, right, from the 650 and the 500 down to the 325. And then in 2011, McNeil, actually reduced the recommended dosage from 4,000 down to 3,000. So like it's been looked at, it's been talked about, and I'm just glad like it's being discussed so that people can really think for themselves and start looking for information, because I think the majority of us as a whole depend on others way too much, and we need to be getting informed and getting educated so we can make decisions what's best for us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's so funny when I think back to my college years. I used to eat ibuprofen like all the time.
Like candy. I know the same.
Like slight headache, ibuprofen, right? A little sore at the gym, ibuprofen. And why, right? It's like ever since I finally realized like, oh, this isn't so great for my gut. Like I don't remember the last time I have had to take any form of an ibuprofen or a Tylenol. So I'm like, was I really in that much pain before? Or did I just
You were probably just not taking care of yourself, right?
not know better, right?
You're
Like,
probably dehydrated and malnourished.
right? And now like that's the first thing, right? It's like, oh, my head hurts a little bit. Like, yeah, probably should eat some food, drink some water, have some hydration and electrolytes, and put my screen down and go outside. Like all the things. And then, oh, guess what? I feel better. But Veronica, I'd be really curious from your pain, experience, what you think about all of this too. And like, how could pain neuroscience help pregnant women, you know?
Yeah, pain neuroscience education would be huge because if we understand how the brain creates pain, I did not learn this in pharmacy school, that we don't have pain receptors. We have nociceptors, or things that sense pressure, temperature, and chemical, what's the word? I've lost my words today, but we sense all of these changes in our environment, and they're not pain receptors. They send information to our brain, and our brain decides, is this a threat or not? And only then do we get a signal of pain that might tell us to pull the hand away from the hot stove, because it senses that mechanical danger from extreme heat. But there is no pain receptor. And so when we get into chronic pain, we get stuck in a loop where normal everyday inputs are being perceived as dangerous. And so how do we help patients know that their body is safe and that there's something in what their environmental inputs that feels unsafe? And so how do we make the body feel safe again? And if you know that you're not doing damage, that pain doesn't mean, oh, something is tearing or I'm causing more damage, that you're able to continue to move. We've got these sayings in pain neuroscience education: motion is lotion, and I can move and be safe but sore. And we give patients these mantras that can help them to keep moving, because once we get patients to understand that, I think we hear a lot that exercise is the thing that does what no pill can do. And it's true, but you've got to get patients to believe it. And there's a huge placebo effect that's going on with a lot of our pain medications, is because they believe that that's the thing that's doing the work. And if you believe it works, it will. Or at least it's going to get you quite a long way if you believe that that's the thing or that's the modality. Just like your belief in that thing is really powerful. Were you looking for anything else on that, Lauren?
No, that's perfect. I think it's a perfect way to wrap up our call.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I know we're coming up at the hour. Let me go back up and look at the book for next month, just to give you all a heads up. Ooh, October, we're kind of switching out of sciencey things, and we're getting into fun entrepreneurial things. It's Big Magic with Elizabeth Gilbert. Ooh, that's fun. I didn't even plan that tie to like Halloween and magic, and that's kind of fun. I just noticed that. So that's the book next month, to kind of inspire our conversations around mindset and entrepreneurship. And again, thank you all for joining us. Is there any burning comments that we need to feel complete in our circle today?
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Wants to get in the boot
Well, we'll
camp.
close out with one deep breath together. Big breath in and a big sigh out.
Beautiful.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you at the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Now I don't know how to leave the call.